Hey, so I watched Sinister 2, which is a movie, because specifically Jenny Nicholson said that it surprised her with how good it was. And so I was like, all right, we'll see. I had seen Sinister 1. If you don't know the premise, it's like there's this eldritch creature called Baghuul, and he's like a demon that seduces children somehow to murder their whole families, and it's like an ongoing thing. Like he's done it with multiple families, and he's like a legend. And you can, in the first one, it's the kind of thing where they take photos of the families, and then people who are studying the murders, they see Baghuul's face in the photos, and they're like, oh no, spooky. Um, So that's what the first one is about. I didn't really like the first one because I guess it's like a monster horror movie, and when there's a monster or a bad thing, I ideally want the protagonists to defeat it in the end. That's my favorite horror movie type. So I like the Jaws sort of situation, blow it up. I like the Ring sort of situation, or like pass it on, or even It Follows also kind of follows that. Um, but in spoilers, in I almost called it Baghuul. In Sinister 1, they don't beat him, and he makes this little girl kill her whole family with an axe. And I personally don't find that interesting. Um, I kind of wanted them to beat him somehow, because I think the father, if I'm remembering correctly, was doing research into Baghuul to try and beat him. And I was like, well, you lost, I guess. And that is a disappointment for all of us. So anyway, Sinister 2 was better. Yeah, I liked it better. I thought it was better than it had any right to be. If I had been in charge of the green lighting for Sinister 2, script sight unseen, I probably would have been like, I don't think we need another one. But they did green light it, and I guess it's fine. It's an okay addition to the horror movie canon, of which I have seen many, many contributions. Probably too many. But, summary of the premise of Sinister 2. You have this family that's on the run. You have the mother, whose name I forget. We're going to call her the mother. And then the two twin boys, two sons, Zachary and Dylan. And then you have a detective guy. I don't know his name. Let's call him Steve. So what happens is Steve has been sort of tracking down the houses where these horrible Baghouli murders have happened, where children have slaughtered their whole families. And he is burning them down, because he has found that if he burns them down in the sort of way where, like, if you destroy a videotape in the Ring, it, like, stops the curse from passing on, I guess, something like that. So he's burning down these houses that have been marked by Baghuul. And little does he know, but his next target for his arsonist rampage is the house that Mother, Dylan, and Zachary are living in. Moving on to Mother, God, she needs a name. Let's call her Diane. So Diane is, I think, this really cool, brave, and strong character. She's a single mother who's caring for two boys. She restores old furniture, which is like a super cool detail. So I definitely want to give props to the creators of this for actually giving the characters hobbies and backstories. It's almost like they cared. But she restores furniture, and her children, you follow this scene with her in a grocery store where she's like going down with the cart, and she's like, no, boys, you can't have 2 cereals each, that's ridiculous. But then this guy kind of cuts them off, or like takes a like on the sly photo of her, and she like kind of turns the corner with her cart, and she's like, boys, do you remember what you're supposed to do when mommy says rutabaga? And they're like, yeah. And she's like, well, rutabaga. And they all like flee the store like as quickly as possible. Like she leaves the cart behind, and then they jump in the car and they drive away. And so I really liked this because it sets up a mystery that isn't the mystery of the ghost/demon Baghuul. I think that when this is done in horror movies and done well, it can really work to kind of. It's not like it's a side plot, because her plight with her ex-husband is the plot. It's just not like the thing you came for when you wanted to see a horror movie. But again, it kind of fleshes out these characters. Makes them seem like humans. So, usually in horror movies, when you have these mysteries that are tangential but not directly related with the ghost/demon, they're usually like a trauma or tragedy that happened, that characters will mysteriously superficially discuss but not actually tell you what happened. Like they'll be like, he hasn't been the same since the accident or whatever. But I liked this one. It was very fresh. So our detective arsonist, Steve, is about to burn down this house and barn, this sort of country house, when he realizes that it's actually inhabited by Diane and her 2 children, Zachary and Dylan. And so he's like, oh no, I can't burn it down. Baghuul lives on. And the way Baghuul works is that he... once a family moves into a house, if that's marked by him, if they move again, then he strikes. It's a little convoluted. You'd think he could just strike at the house that he marked. But anyway, what this family did well. I love the mystery of the family on the run. Like, who are they running from? What's going on? What's this, antagonist that they're running from? I love that. The thing that Jenny Nicholson mentioned is the inversion of the spooky child trope. In this one, instead of a little girl being like, they're here, or whatever, you know, or like 2 twins in a dark hallway, instead of that spooky child, you have Dylan and Zachary, who are, I think, the best child actors I've seen ever, because they're really young. They both haven't hit puberty, so I guess I would peg them around 11. They're both very like thin, gangly little white boys, so they're so small, which makes the fact that they're running from an abusive ex-husband like horrible, because they're so small. But yeah, you have Dylan, the younger one, who had been sent to the emergency room by his like horrible abusive father. He is the one who's being seduced by the ghost children. The ghost children are like Baghuul's minions. They come to him and they're like, Dylan, you want to join our cool club? We're pretty cool. You could be part of our cool club. And Dylan's like, I don't know, you guys make me watch a lot of snuff films. And so that's another weird thing that they do. This movie has way too many snuff films. Like, way too many. Like, it's funny, but it's not. It's kind of boring. which is horrible because watching families die on screen shouldn't be boring, but I wasn't titillated, and boring is the opposite of that. So, um, uh, so they, yeah, the ghost children come to him and they're like, "You're gonna keep having nightmares unless you watch these snuff films, Dylan." And Dylan's like, "Ugh, I really don't want to, but the nightmares suck." So he watches these snuff films. It's like every ghost child minion of Baghuul's comes with their own 8mm like reel of like, "This is my snuff film," you know, and it's just a lot. I think in the first Sinister film there were maybe like 2 snuff films that we saw as the audience. And in this one, you see like 5 or 6. It feels like a lot. To the point where, so if you're thinking of this as like a chain, where in order for the curse to be fulfilled, you know, the child must watch every snuff film of those who came before him. Well, in Sinister 2, there was like 30 minutes of snuff film footage, it felt like. So by the time we get to Sinister 6, it's just gonna be 11 hours of fake snuff films, which is horrible. And I don't think it's gonna like peak and be funny like after an hour and a half, in the way that listening to what's that song that everyone likes? When I know I'm gonna be the one who goes along with you. That one. So that one, you kind of, you're like, "Oh, I hate it," and then you're like, "I love it," and then you're like, "I hate it." But so where was I? Yeah, it's just, it was a lot of snuff film footage, and they like try to be clever with them, different ways of murdering people, you know, like electrocution or like burning, or wow, they had one with rats that was pretty gross, I guess, but it just, I don't think we needed to see the whole film. I think they could have alluded to the fact that Dylan had watched a lot of these films and used the extra 15 minutes to like explore character arcs or something. So in the end, in the end, what happens is this, like, it's not exactly a cool twist, but what happens is that Zachary gets like super jealous that the ghost kids didn't pick him, and so he basically punches his brother Dylan in the face and gets out the you know, 8mm and wants to make his own family snuff film. This is his desire. They don't really explain that. They like try to justify it by saying that, you know, his father was abusive and his mother allowed it to happen and his brother was weak. And those things are all like kind of true, but besides killing the abusive father, I don't really think the others were necessary. I think you kill the abusive father and you're kind of free and clear. But so Baghuul makes Zachary get out the, I want to keep calling it an 8-track, and that's not what it is. The 8mm, because Baghuul is a hipster, apparently. Toward the end, the camera breaks, and I, like, don't understand why he can't just pull out an iPhone and be like, "Got him!" Because I feel like that would work, but apparently Baghuul only wants ghost children to be able to hand enormous stacks of 8mm footage to their people. Their people they're trying to seduce. So, in the end, Zachary is like, he's in the midst of killing his family. He kills the abusive father. Cool. And then he Detective Steve like drives through a cornfield and he stops Zachary from burning the other members of the family. I think he literally like goes like this and whacks the camera out of his hand. I don't think that actually happens, but that's how I'm gonna remember it. So in the end, Zachary's like really upset. He's like, I just wanted to murder my family. And I'm like, yeah, Zachary, we all have those days. But he runs into the house and Baghuul is like angry with him that he couldn't finish the job and that like the curse is broken now because the camera that like made all the 8mm is destroyed. And so Zachary dies. Baghuul like murders him. And I'm like, whoa, interesting twist. But I kind of wish that the movie had give or take ended there. This is a problem I see with a lot of horror movies where they don't know how to end or how to end satisfyingly. And this might just be with me where I want like a very particular thing. But when I watch a horror movie that has a monster, you know, Jaws, the shark, I want them to end the monster. I want them to blow it up. The girl from The Ring, Samara, I want them to break her curse, set her free. If it's another horror movie. I don't know. Sometimes ghosts just want like secrets to be revealed. I think that's something that happens with, if I'm remembering correctly, What Lies Beneath. So, like, yeah, if a demon or a ghost wants something, I either want it to be satisfied or I want it to be, I want the thing to be destroyed. And in this movie, they just didn't do it properly, because when the camera was destroyed, I thought that essentially Baghuul would be destroyed because that is literally the medium through which his curse manifests. But it wasn't. He like, so the movie kind of ended ambiguously. The movie kind of ended ambiguously in terms of whether Baghuul's still around and powerful, which I don't like. I guess it leaves room for a sequel, but they implied during the movie that there was a different trail of Baghuul happenings in Norway that had been spread via radio recording, I guess. So, like, it seems like Baghuul has multiple manifestations. So even if they kill this one, he could still come back for the sequel. I just want writers to let us win. I don't understand why they're like, I'm gonna come to the end of the movie and you're not gonna win. You're not gonna get anything. You had to watch 30 minutes of snuff film footage. But, I feel like something that horror movie writers don't understand, that I feel, is that, there's so much wreckage at the end of this movie that you really don't need Baghuul to pop on in and, like, be like, bleh, to Detective Steve, as your ending point. Like, that's stupid. You're already dealing with a family that has lost, although it was probably for the best, lost an abusive ex-husband who is the father of the 2 sons, and lost one of the sons. And so you've got this broken family, the mother and Dylan, and they have so much recovery that they have to do. And, you know, this safe house they were living in isn't even safe because freaking Baghuul was in it. And also rats. Gross. But, and I just think that that's something that directors or screenwriters or whoever's messing up doesn't understand, is that I think horror movies and monster movies are frequently about, like, trauma and about human spirit in the face of trauma. And so I think that if everyone in the movie does their best to beat the trauma, the ending note should be like on an uptick. And that's what creates a better horror movie. You know, it's like we had this horrifying thing happen to us. We've been changed forever. We'll never be the same again. But we're moving on now. Not like, whatever, Zachary, my dead son. But, you know, like, they have to move forward. And I feel like this is the vibe that I want at the end of horror movies, and I very infrequently get it. I feel like there's a lot of horror movie people who want it to end on, like, and nothing was accomplished. The monster's still there, boogity boogity boogity. And I'm like, I don't want that. I've never asked for that. And so my verdict, it was all right. Not great. Go watch Jaws. Bye.